So you're getting ready to take your initial fitness test or IFT for SPECWAR, or if you're just taking your Air Force PT test or any other PT test for that matter, you're going to want to listen to this because we're going to go over tips and tricks for you to make sure that you show up at your best. As an instructor, I saw way too many people show up for the initial pass test at Lackland with the Cadre, and maybe it was the nerves, maybe it was something else, but they fell flat on their face and they weren't able to complete the exercises appropriately. They forgot how to do them correctly, and they just ended up puking for other reasons, whether it was nerve, they didn't eat the right thing. So we're going to go over all that stuff and make sure that you show up at your optimal performance level. First thing you should do in order to mitigate any of these issues that you may have is do your own mock IFT test. The outlines on what the criteria are for the IFT are all over the internet, so you can use one of those sheets and make sure that you are performing that exact standard every single time you do a push-up, pull-up, sit-up, whatever it is. Make sure you know those criteria inside and out. That way no one can get you when it comes time to evaluate you for your mock or actual IFT or EAD test. So do your own mock test. If you need to do it multiple times because you weren't able to actually complete the test appropriately, then do it. Get it done. Another thing I got to say, because I get this question all the time, is how long should I train before taking the IFT or before enlisting? It's very dependent on what kind of background you have with sports. If you're a person that has been playing collegiate sports and you're really good at, most things and you just need some fine tuning, maybe it'll be a month. If you're one of those people that hasn't really worked out a lot through high school or through college, then, obviously you're going to need a little bit more work, but everyone can definitely do this. So figure out where you're at with your baseline mock IFT and then go from there. Use that as a gauge. If you're crushing it, then you're crushing it. Do the fine tuning, make sure you know the criteria, and then go have at it. At the 1 week mark, you want to make sure that you are avoiding alcohol and you're getting your sleep patterns in order. What I mean by that is if you've ever taken a PT test, most of the time it's not going to happen at 5 p.m. or over lunch or any of that kind of stuff. It's going to happen first thing in the morning because they're trying to get a lot of candidates through and they won't need to do evaluations and they got to tell people if they fail or pass, that kind of thing. Plan your sleep schedule around that. So if you need to wake up at 5 in the morning, reverse plan and go to bed by 9-ish because you want to get at least 8 hours of sleep prior to your test, and your body's going to end up waking up at that time. Even without an alarm, some people might not sleep very much the night before. If you're like me and you get, you're thinking about the test, you're trying to visualize that stuff, and we'll talk about how to get over some of those pre-test jitters in a little bit. One more thing I want to harp on about sleep: practice good sleep hygiene. If you just Google that, sleep hygiene, it'll talk about, making sure that your phone is on silent mode. It's not going to be on throughout the rest of the night. Don't have it next to your bed or be reading stuff on your phone before you go to sleep or watching TV. Everything should be nice and quiet. If you need to use a sound machine, try and eliminate some of those disturbances and make sure that you're able to get some restful sleep throughout the night. Try to avoid any kind of greasy foods 48 hours out, because that's going to dull your performance, make you feel sluggish. You want to eat those healthy fats, clean proteins, that kind of stuff. Make sure that you are performing at your optimal level. All right, next thing is hydration. So, of course, this is very important for everyone. When you're training for not only the IFT, but when you're training period, you want to be drinking about a gallon of water a day plus electrolytes. Electrolytes are not all made the same. You got to make sure that it has low sugar content. If you're drinking just straight Gatorade, the normal kind, that has a ton of sugar, and if you're just kind of drinking that on an empty stomach, hoping that's going to make you feel better, it's going to make you throw up because there's way too much sugar in some of those things. So if you have to, you can pour some, half water, half Gatorade, or get some powder mixes that have a lower sugar content. If you drink straight water and too much of it at one time, you can get water toxicity, which throws off a lot of things in your body. So just avoid it and make sure you're drinking electrolytes. 48 hours out, what are you doing for exercise? So you're not going super hard on any of these things that I'm going to talk about, but you do want to get your rhythm down and make sure you have a plan for going in. And what I mean by that is, for example, if your goal, and everyone's goal should be to hit around 80 plus for push-ups. So when you go in first for push-ups specifically, my game plan was always to do 50 right out the gate and then go by 10, and then go by 5s, and then by 2s, and then by 1 if I had to. Whatever your game plan is, just make sure you've thought about it, you've planned it out, and you have practiced that in your mock IFTs that you've done previously. Some people have to do 20, 20, 10, 10, 5, 5, however you got to do it. Make sure you have a plan for that going in. And your breathing patterns need to be on lock, and making sure that you're not doing, 10 push-ups without taking a breath. Continue to breathe, continue to have good form, video yourself if you need to, and just make sure that your form is perfect. You're not getting yourself gassed or going for max reps or anything when you're 48 hours out. You're just getting that last bit of security, saying, all right, I know I got this. I've practiced. I've done everything I can to make sure that I'm going to get this right. I know what it feels like to do the right thing and do the right push-up. Another thing that is really critical, if you have the availability to do this, is having one of your buddies sit there next to you and be super critical of everything you're doing. Don't take offense to it. Don't get butthurt. Just fix it and move on, because that person is there literally to make you better and make sure that you're doing it correctly. The goal is for anyone that you've trained with, for you guys to go and put on that bray together, right? So make sure that happens and you guys are helping each other and not hindering each other by saying, yeah, that counted or didn't count. Be objective and be constructive in whatever criticism you have, all right? The night prior, when you start getting those jitters, first thing is, like I said before, with the 48 hours thing, you want to make sure that you're eating super clean, drinking lots of water, continue hydrating throughout that time. And this is where, if you need to fine tune anything, go ahead and fine tune it. But you should be, just foam rolling, stretching, continuing to hydrate, kind of relaxing. Go for a walk. If you got the jitters, you can go for like a short run or a slight jog, that kind of thing, just to get some of that extra energy out. Because everyone knows, a lot is riding on this. You prepared for this for a long time and you want to do your best. So you're going to be thinking about this for the rest of the day. If you're not, watch a movie, something that's going to be entertaining / motivating to you. I'm actually going to come up with a list of movies that I used to watch when I was trying to get motivated for tests and that kind of thing. So you guys can pick from that list when it comes out. Nutrition, nothing changes. We're still doing the same thing, making sure that we're eating super clean and continuing to hydrate. The big thing you want to focus on in this last 24 hours before you start taking your test is getting all the materials together that you need as far as your packing list. And you can see a packing list down in the link below. It's just an extra thing to check the boxes, make sure you have all the equipment that you need for that next day. It's fairly extensive, so you'll be able to make sure in your mind that you're not forgetting anything, and you don't need to continue to go over and over it again a million times. But you probably will anyway. If you go over your list once or twice, not a big deal. Just make sure you have the right stuff, because the worst feeling in the world is showing up and remembering that you forgot to pack your snacks, or you forgot to pack your whatever, your charger, your phone, you forgot to do all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you at least glance over that checklist. Make sure you got everything ready to go the night before your test. With that, one of the big things that I do, and I've always done before, I was doing a mission or I set out of my cage before training, is set out the gear that you're going to be using the night before. And that just kind of primes your mind and it gets you going, because inevitably there will be something that you forget, or you're trying to get your breakfast together and you just are focused on what your form is going to be like, who's going to be there, what kind of cadre, all these other things that you're going to be worrying about. So the less that you're going to put on yourself in the morning as far as forgetting clothes or items, the better. So if you plan it out the night before, it's just going to make you that much more ready and feel more confident going in, because when you start forgetting those certain things, that kind of turns into that snowball effect and you start thinking that you're just a screw up and all this other stuff. So don't put yourself through that. Make sure you got everything ready to go. All right, it's time to go to sleep. So for a lot of us, it's going to be difficult to go to sleep. I know when it was a big test for me, I was terrible at going to sleep. So I would replay things in my mind and try and make sure that if there was some kind of deficiency I had with push-ups or running or whatever it is, I'd go through my gear checklist again, over and over again, and make sure that I had all the things that I needed. I packed my headphones, my cell phone was charged, and everything else was ready to go. At the end of the day, all you can do is rely on your training and know that you've put in 100% effort on every single workout that you've done. You've been killing it in the pool and you've been crushing it with your buddies. So you got to know that you've put in this work, and whatever happens, happens tomorrow. And you should at least have a little bit of confidence because you know that you've passed at least one mock test that you've done previously, because you should have done that. Hopefully it gives you just a little bit of peace of mind to know that you put in that extra effort. I don't think that stress is a 100% bad thing, because to me, it lets you know that you care. You know, this is a very important thing. And if it wasn't important, then you wouldn't be stressed out about it. It helps you perform when it's time to perform, and that's not going to go away. Maybe you get only 4 hours of sleep. But I have to stress, one of the most important things that you can do for yourself is wake up about 2 hours early before your test and make sure that you eat around that time. When I say eat, I mean like a full breakfast. You're going to get some oatmeal, some toast, some bananas, a little bit of scrambled eggs, something like that. Nothing super greasy, nothing super sugary, but get a full meal in before you start taking this test. I can't tell you how many times I have seen people show up to the line, and whether it's after the swim, during the run, during cals, they start puking. And then inevitably the first thing I ask them is, what did you have for breakfast? And they tell me, I had a banana or I had a yogurt. And I say, okay, well, that's not enough food for you to keep running on the rest of the day. Don't treat this like you're going out to work out with just a couple of your friends. Those nerves and you staying up all night is going to eat a ton of energy. And you just eating some kind of sugary thing like a yogurt and then drinking Gatorade and then eating a banana, it's way too much sugar. It's going to not give you the fuel that you need, and it's going to make you want to throw up when it's time to perform. Please eat a healthy, solid breakfast with protein, lots of carbs. Give yourself enough time to digest that before you step up to the line to do your run or swim. So everyone got that? I just want to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else, because inevitably there will be that one guy. And if there is that one guy, ask him what they ate. All right. So morning of, you show up and it's time to rock and roll. You're getting ready. You get in groups, that kind of thing. They're going to give you a little bit of time to warm up. While you're doing this, make sure you're doing dynamic warm-ups and not doing static stretching. Dynamic stretches means that you're not going to be just sitting there counting to 10 and, bending over, trying to touch your toes or whatever. You're going to be kind of moving, getting warmed up, high knees, that kind of stuff, to get all the juices flowing and get you kind of ready to go for that run or for the pull-ups. So this is something that's really important that a lot of people miss. And there are built-in breaks during the IFT. If you look at the IFT sheet, you can see that there's, 30 minutes in between the run and the swim. So that's an optimal time to get a little bit of calories, protein, carbs in. And if you have like a protein bar with you or something that has some kind of carbs that you can burn while you're waiting, I recommend that you at least take a couple bites. You're not trying to get super full or anything like that, but you're just trying to get a little bit of extra energy in to top yourself off before you start going to that next event. Because while you're waiting, most people are not going to be sitting there just, hanging out, taking a nap or anything. There's going to be people watching you, and you're going to be watching all the other people that are going before you or after you, and thinking about how you're going to perform. So there's a little bit of nerves there, and that burns up a lot of energy. So make sure that you're just topping yourself off as you continue going, both with, a protein bar or something like that, and then also some hydration, continuing to hydrate as much as possible throughout your run, again, with the electrolytes. If you have a quote or something that has motivated you to get to where you are, put that thing on your water bottle or say it in your mind, or do something to remember why you were doing this and why you were there, especially while you're doing the run or while you're doing the swim, because it's going to hurt. And there are going to be times when you're just like, wow, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be, or I feel gassed, or whatever it is that is that little wall that you got to bust through in order to get to your optimal performance. Then just remember those little quotes and those little things. I'm a big quote guy, so I really appreciate having those kind of things around to remember my why of what I'm doing there. So, okay, now we're going to get into some of the other thing from the Cadre's perspective. So Cadre are going to be watching you the entire time. And even if it's not the Cadre, then it's a recruiter, and they're probably going to be looking for these similar things as they write their reports on you and how you did, that kind of stuff, team player, not. that kind of thing. So I'm going to be careful in the way that I say this, but when you are waiting for your test and you're just kind of standing around and just waiting for them to call on you to go and, line up, that kind of thing, you want to make sure that your head is on a swivel and you're keeping your situational awareness. And this is important because there's so many times that I've had to tell, we usually assign a group leader for each cohort that's going to be going and testing together. And it's usually the person that has some situational awareness that we can count on because they're paying attention to what's going on. So be that guy that is paying attention to what's going on. When I say careful about the way that I say this, because nobody wants anyone that's going to be an ass kisser or trying to show off for the cadre or being a cheerleader or anything like that. And I'm saying this because you want to be the guy that your team can count on, and you want to have a team that shows up and you're ready to go. If I, as a cadre member, show up and, the water bottles are full, everyone's standing, chest out, chin up, they're ready to go, locked and loaded. There's not people that are like, it's time to go take your test. And they're like, "Hoo-yah, Sergeant, can I go use the bathroom?" You've been standing there for 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. And you should have been ready to go. You know what the time frame was between events. So make sure that you guys take care of all those little things that you need to take care of up front, and somebody's leading out, accountability of the team. Make sure everyone's water bottles are topped up. Everyone goes to the bathroom as they need to. Everyone looks the same as far as their, uniforms are concerned. Shoes are tied, little things that you might not be thinking about in the moment, but I guarantee you, all the instructors and recruiters or whoever's watching you is going to be looking at those things. And the person that shows up to the start line with their shoes not laced, or a person that shows up and their shirt's inside out, little things like that are noticed. And, we kind of take a mental note of. We try not to be, base all of our thoughts about that person off one thing, but that is the initial thing. This is your initial interview to show whoever it is what you got and how well you can perform. And that doesn't mean just physically, but it means mentally. So pay attention to those things. And please, please, please don't be that guy that is showing off in front of the instructors and trying to, like I said, kiss anyone's ass. You're not going to put yourself in a good light if you're doing it just for show. Do it because it's the right thing to do and you want your team to be represented well. The last couple things are, if you have the opportunity to watch whoever's going before you and see what they did wrong, or just hear it, what they've been doing wrong, then take mental note of that, especially during your mock tests. That's why in the checklist that I wrote in the link down below, I put a pad of paper and some kind of a writing utensil. That way, you have something to take notes. You can remember them and implement them when you actually go for your real test, if you're taking the mock test. And, these are really important lessons to learn. If you are a good team, you'll have a debrief after you're done with your IFT, and you guys will talk about whatever you did wrong or why something didn't count. And you show each other, this is why I wasn't able to get whatever it was, my goal that I was trying to get, because I messed up this on the form. I didn't step right. And I didn't, form up correct, whatever it was. So make sure that you are going through those things and you're doing after action report, basically, about what happened and why you messed up, why you didn't, or what worked well, what didn't work well, and you guys show up as a team. I appreciate anytime that anyone shows up and they're easy to manage, they manage themselves, because they're all adults and we kind of expect them to be able to do that. So show up, be ready to go in that aspect. The last thing I want to say about getting ready for your test, one of the things that has helped me a lot through, jumps, ropes, anything else that I do in training, is visualizing exactly what it's going to be like and how it's going to go. Of course, no plan is going to go exactly like you think it's going to go. However, it is good to have something to deviate from. So if you are thinking about your run and you know that you are typically, wasting energy with making faces, or you're wasting energy by, over swinging your arms or throwing your arms out to the side, whatever it is, make sure that you are correcting that and then visualizing what that feels like, what that looks like, and how you're going to perform whenever you get up to the plate, especially with underwater strokes and things that are a little bit more technical. It's important to use those visualization techniques. And I usually just do it while I'm trying to go to bed because I don't go to bed, like I said, when I'm thinking about doing something that's important to me. So use those visualization techniques, use that stress. At the end of the day, you're only going to get one real shot at this. There's only one time you get the first shot. So make sure that you show up ready to go. If anyone else has any tricks, tips for your IFT, what made your experience better or you thought made you perform optimally, go ahead and drop it down below in the comments, and make sure you check out that link below for the IFT checklist. That way you show up prepared. Hope you guys learned something from this. If you have any questions at all, feel free to hit me up, Brian@howtobeapj.com. Always here for you. We'll catch you next time.